Good day, Chief here for Chief Tells Tales. Yes, I'm still a civilian because, like I said, I'm retired. I'm not worried about wearing my t-shirt. It's almost worn out, my brown one, and it's the only one I got. I thought I had two of them. I couldn't find the other one. I know I bought two, but maybe the other one died previously. Today I'm going to talk about something strange. A Bailey Bridge. Now, why is Chief talking about a Bailey Bridge? Chief actually got the cross one. Now, for those that you don't know what a Bailey Bridge is, if you've seen the movie A Bridge Too Far, based on the book from Cornelius Ryan, there's that scene with Elliot Gould. He's a major in the 506. He is running down this little country road with a group of soldiers behind him, and just before he gets to this simple bridge, which is probably only maybe 20, 25 feet across, maybe 30 feet across, because it was just a simple bridge. It was the bridge that crossed the Somme Canal. Blows up right in front of him. He gets, bombarded with timber and probably other stuff. He doesn't get injured, except his pride is injured because he didn't capture the bridge intact. So, and then of course you see him in the scene. He's on the phone, get some of that Bailey, whatever. I think he used a curse word. Up here so we can get this bridge crossed, because no tanks are going to cross the Somme River, or Somme, it's actually a canal, until we get a Bailey Bridge. So you see him along with all the soldiers building this Bailey Bridge, and then he makes the comment when the bridge is finally done that we're 36 hours behind. Now, the Bailey Bridge is basically put on pontoons, as you see in the movie. They've got these huge pontoons. And speaking of that, I actually rode one of those pontoons. Back when I was in the Boy Scouts, way long time ago, there was a river trip that we took up. It was in the northwest part of Colorado, and I think into Utah, if I'm not mistaken. So we'd camp in Utah, drive. We were driven away from our main camp where we left where the parents left their cars. I wasn't driving at this time. And then we got to this other location, and they had these the same pontoons that you would use to build the Bailey Bridge, and we went down the river until we got back to our vehicles to go home. And I think we spent it was an overnight doing that. So I got to ride a pontoon. It was fun. I miss it. I only done it once. Wish I could do it every summer, but we didn't. So I got to ride a pontoon that's connected to the Bailey Bridge. So while I was at BNCOC back at Fort Devens, because I was at Fort Devens previously trying to be a ditty bop, so that was also where our basic non-commissioned officer course was, BNCOC. So we went there, and we went across, I think you got to cross a road to get from one side to the other side. And out there is wilderness and an old water treatment plant. And part of our land navigation course was through this water treatment plant and the wilderness. This is the worst and probably the best land navigation, because I got stuck on a parallel course, because some people fade left, some people fade right as they walk. And I generally fade left for some odd reason. So I got to where I'm supposed to be looking for this orange marker. So I look to my right and I look to my left, and I see two of them. So I picked the left by mistake, and I got on a parallel course, and so I completed the rest of the course lickety split, but got stuck on a parallel course because I should have went right. But never mind. We went out to observe the land navigation area one day, and we hiked, and then we came back by a different road, and all of a sudden we're at a ravine, very steep ravine, and there's a bridge there. Bouncy, 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 bouncy as I'm walking across. And I'm like, wow. Then I get about halfway across this bridge, and I'm like, look over the edge. Wow, look at it. I was on a Bailey Bridge. I don't know if it's still standing or not, but it looks like it was maybe, I don't know how long a section of it is, but this was probably about a good 60 feet of Bailey Bridge. And I think there was support in the center. I won't swear to that, but it was pretty bouncy to begin with, because normally it's on those pontoons in the water to help with the bouncy, because you put enough weight on it like a tank, it's not gonna go woo, 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 because if it did that, the bridge would fall apart, because the tank would just rattle all the boats loose, so to speak, and snap them. So that was odd, walking across a Bailey Bridge. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. World War II era, because it looked like it had been there a very long time, because you could tell that it's been painted and painted and painted. But it was out in the middle of nowhere. Couldn't tell you where it is exactly on Fort Devens, somewhere near the land nav. It was nowhere part of the land navigation, which is kind of strange. We always do land navigation out in the middle of the woods. Never like find a river crossing, find a bridge, find a building, find a guard tower or a ranger station or something like that. It's always go from this point to this point to this point to this point, out in the woods. Always out in the woods. Except at Bad Tults. Speaking of land navigation, help fill up the video. Land navigation at Bad Tults was hilarious. It was 2 tree lines with a field in between them, so to speak. There was a tree line here, big open field, and another tree line. And there were paths, because everybody had walked up and down these same land navs so many times it was unreal. One line was like A through Echo, and the other line was 1 through 5. So you went from a letter to a number, back to a letter, back to a number, finish up with a letter, or you started number, letter, number, letter, number. And they told everybody that you will not have 2 letters or 2 numbers in a row. So I was one of the first groups that did that land navigation. I can't remember what I started out with, letters or numbers. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, done. So they waited till about 30 of us were done, because when I went to my primary leadership development course, PLDC, back in when it was called that, there was 2 full companies. There was about almost 300 of us there, it seemed like. And so they waited till about 30 of us did the course. They started calling out names to form a line, and the people that weren't getting in the line were chuckling at us, because they're like, oh, those are the guys that failed. Nope. The guys in the line, you can go home. And all the people that were still sitting there laughing at us were like, what? And then the instructor turned around, you guys had 2 numbers or 2 letters in a row. What did we tell you? You will not have that. That's what we heard on our way out. So land navigation, being in the Boy Scouts, it was easy for me. I only failed the 1 course. Like I said, that was the one at BNCOC out in the middle of the woods in Fort Devens, Massachusetts. Like I said, why is it always the woods? If you're going to find 5 points, or sometimes 6, sometimes 7, make it a guard tower, make it a watchtower, make it a river crossing or a bridge or a building. But no, let's find a point out, especially at Fort Devens. Find this orange flag out in the middle of a heavily forested area. There was no clearing. You had to, you do your pacing, and then you like do a 360 looking around. You're like, where is orange? And you're looking low, because it's not hanging up on a pole. No, it's like on a traffic cone sitting on the ground. And the bushes were sometimes waist high, so the bushes were higher than the markers sometimes. But of course, everybody found it after looking around. Sometimes you have to do a search. What else can I talk about land navigation while we're talking about it? Other than that, a lot of people just don't get it. And then I actually had one person, I can't remember what, they failed it twice and they got sent home. Because you have to pass it. So I think that's for today. Talking about Bailey Bridge, riding a pontoon, crossing a Bailey Bridge, and land navigation, and how easy or difficult it can be. So this is Chief. Hopefully the special military operation, why he just doesn't go home, I don't know. So this is Chief out. Remember, freedom's not free, and you know what to do with the veteran, and November's coming up, and we're getting to Veterans Day, which is more somber than, or just as somber as Memorial Day, in my words. And it's also the date of my dad's birthday. So, Chief out.